I was at Summit the 6 years and I started back there 3 months ago. I went to the Kalamazoo plant,
What plant are you at?
Pavilion plant, 19.
All right, let's call Summit Polymers and confirm that he's working there. If you're not working at Summit Polymers, I'm gonna give you 365 days in jail. Peeing on my leg and telling you it's raining ain't helping. So you contend you're working at plant 18, the Pavilion plant in Kalamazoo? This is file number 231419, People versus Michael David Dowling. Mr. Dowling was charged with possession of methamphetamine as a second offender, as a fourth habitual offender, making it punishable by potentially up to life imprisonment. The matter was reduced to a misdemeanor charge of use of methamphetamine. He indicated he had some charges in Steuben County, Indiana. There was something else out there somewhere from Indiana. He also has a driving suspended second offense charge that he failed to appear in front of Judge Pattison earlier this week, and Judge Pattison issued a bench warrant for his arrest. So there's an open warrant for him, but he is here now. Frankly, I didn't know what to do, so I asked for a pre-sentence report, and Daniel drew that difficult assignment and has prepared a pre-sentence report. Mr. George, what would you like me to know?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, to start, I know that my client has provided me a copy of a letter. I know the court hasn't had the opportunity to read it, so I'm just going to summarize that letter, and I'll get a copy of Mr. Frazen in the court. This is from Joe Johnson. It's dated 12/11/23. It indicates that Michael Dowling has been a patient at the Victory Clinic since January 19th, 2017. He's prescribed a daily dose of methadone by Dr. Keelhorn. There is a significant packet here of drug screens that show that he was able to maintain sobriety for a significant period during his maintenance program. He's presently in the active action stage and has voiced his commitment to sobriety he once achieved at this time. In addition to daily medication, Michael is also participating in weekly individual counseling, attending the Building Blocks / Living in Balance group, has regular meeting with the program physician, and is a member of the Victory Clinic Opiate Health Home, and therefore receiving additional case management services as needed. In addition to services at VCS, Mr. Dowling has begun working with Integrated Services of Kalamazoo, and has also established a primary care physician at the Family Health Center. He's currently working at Summit Polymers and is presently in training for the level 2 mold tech position. So in speaking with my client, and also speaking with the prosecutor resolving this case, I think that one of the things that is clear is obviously there's a significant substance abuse issue, and that's been something that has troubled him for a long period of time. But I think he has taken steps to try to do what he can to address that issue. And I think he's straight up that there are certain triggers that happen, certain things that happen that cause him to fall back into that lifestyle. But that's not something that's uncommon for somebody who's addicted to substances. In the end, Your Honor, my client is, I think, looking for an opportunity to prove to himself, to prove to Mr. Frazen, and prove to the court that he can do a successful probation. He brought his marriage license with him. When I called him earlier this week, he was on his way to get married. Just got married on Monday. So I think he's proud of what he's doing right now. And I think that, the court has heard me say this before, and it's true today. The jail is always there. And he understands that he pled to a misdemeanor that's punishable by up to a year in jail. So my suggestion to the court, and what we'd ask of this court today, is to give him that opportunity to be on a probation. Obviously, he has the issue in Indiana that he has to deal with. That is in Steuben County. It's my understanding there is a court date that's set for January. He's prepared to go and handle that. But, overall, Your Honor, I'm not making light of it, but it is a residue case. I understand that my client does have a significant history, but he's just looking for the opportunity to show that he can, do what this court asks him to do and continue in his substance abuse treatment. Thank you.
Mr. Dowling, what would you like to tell me?
I just want one opportunity. I know I've had the chances before. The one time that I was on probation with Dan, well, the double probation, it got revoked because of that law not being in effect no more. But, you know, I've done the probation center. I've completed it. You know, I have completed things. I have done things. You know, I just want one opportunity this time to show.
Tell me about methamphetamine.
It's been the worst thing in my life. I mean, I got addicted to opiates when I was 18. The doctors prescribed them and I got taken off of them, and meth always kind of just happened to show up in my life when I needed it the worst. Or, you know, not the most, but I don't, it's been a
Well, if
problem.
I gave you a meth test right now, what would it show?
Negative.
Let me see the letter. So it's a
Yeah.
test.
And then there's all my tests from the last 6 years from the Victory Clinic.
You were real vague. It's a whole bunch of shuck and jive forever. Trying to get a straight answer out of you has been hard. And Daniel had the same experience trying to talk with you. You're with a guy who's got warrants out for arrest, driving around in Sturgis at 10 o'clock at night, allegedly going to Myers to get a brake light. And you got this meth in the car. But it's really just trace amounts. It's not like a big, it's a,
It was still there though.
right. And then you didn't have a clear explanation for it. Were you smoking meth at that time?
Yeah.
And we find more recently the combination of opioids and methamphetamine. We've been to a lot of different treatment conferences. Mr. George went to a big one in Denver earlier this fall. I've been to a couple this year. Nobody has a handle on methamphetamine. They've got all kinds of solutions and medical assisted treatment for opioids like Suboxone and your methadone clinic. They've got other options that they're working on with alcohol, but no one has a good handle on meth. We just had a big press conference by the Western District of Michigan, the U.S. Attorney in Grand Rapids, saying we have a lot of fentanyl, but the number one drug charge in West Michigan is methamphetamine, which was certainly no surprise to me. It's very debilitating. It's extremely addictive. And so we get people who are addicted to opioids who get methamphetamine to get enough ambition to go get more opioids. And a lot of the opioids, as you know, on the street have got fentanyl. And in fact, they're mixing fentanyl with everything. The Taliban has shut down 95% of the opium poppy production in Afghanistan. So heroin is not as prevalent, although now it's being grown in Myanmar. But fentanyl is coming across the border in unprecedented amounts, and it's scary. If it were not for Narcan, we'd probably have 3 million people a year die of opioid overdose. Maybe they do something at that point. So anyway, you got this meth issue. You're driving around with somebody with a warrant for his arrest doing I don't know what. If I put you in jail, you're going to go through withdrawal from your methadone, which is very unpleasant, maybe even harder than a heroin withdrawal. I didn't know you were working. How long have you been working at Summit Polymers?
I was at Summit the 6 years that I had my clean drug test from, and I started back there 3 months ago. I went to the Kalamazoo plant from Sturgis.
Is that in here, Daniel? Do we know he's at Summit Polymers?
Yeah, Plant 18 Pavilion plant.
Now, there's a warrant for your arrest for failing to appear on a driving suspended charge with Judge Pattison. But really, all this boils down to is you're tooling around with a meth pipe in your pocket and some in your car and some trace amounts of meth. So what's up? You get a ticket, you don't show up in August, you get arrested on a bench warrant, Judge Pattison lets you out of jail, gives you a pretrial date, you don't show up for the pretrial, issues a warrant. it all says drug addiction and lack of focus. I think you're still bobbing like a cork in the ocean. So Daniel, I wasn't joking when I said this was a difficult assignment. You'd already had him on probation once before. Twice, which didn't go well. He wants one chance.
Well, I'd like to say,
Well-
Michael's always very polite.
He certainly is.
And everybody that's ever interacted with him, whether it be at the jail, here, the court, will never say that he's rude or anything else. So he's always very polite, which that is a blessing in and of itself, because most people with his kind of history aren't so congenial. However, I think the Florida is a great example of his deflection and sugarcoating things, which is also what he does. He has numerous, I don't know if you can open up a case that won't have a failure to appear. He told me he's been at the methadone clinic for over 10 years. I do know that when he was on my probations, he was at the methadone clinic. So I don't know if there was a stop and a start time, because the letter said 2017. But he's been involved, and his numbers were a lot higher now. They're like down really, really low. So I don't know that it would actually cause an issue, because they are so low at the methadone clinic as far as coming off of it. But this happened in March. He told me at the pre-sentence investigation that I did that he was still using in October and November, because he said a month and a half, maybe two. And I know from talking to him that those are probably generous dates. So this continued for more months. He told me it happened back when his wife had died last year. I believe it was May of 2022. So he'd been using for a while. I know there's been a tendency to say, oh, it's a pipe case or it's just a residue case. But I would say someone getting off at third shift, putting on a hoodie with a meth pipe in it, I would suspect they're probably using meth, because you don't accidentally know what's in there. Put on a hoodie, you'd feel a pipe that was in there. So I'm really suspicious that he wasn't using it after work. And then I actually believe his brake light story, but I still think that he was probably using that day. This is also a habitual pattern. Yeah, and he's admitted to continued use. He said he has numerous failed drug tests from the methadone clinic. And if you look at the escalating sentences, his last revoked for this exact same charge was 180 days. He's not learning. He's been at the methadone clinic for over 10 years. He minimizes everything. Driving around with meth pipes on him. I couldn't, in all conscience, not recommend at least 180 days, which is what he did last time. And again, I wish him the best and stuff, but I don't think a term of probation. He's already seeing a psychiatrist and a counselor on a regular basis at the methadone clinic. So I don't know what we would accomplish on a term of probation.
I don't either. Couple things. There's no mention in here of Summit Polymers. Do we know he was working?
Well, and that must be on me, because I have notes that he was working at the one for 3 months, and he had told me about he was at Kalamazoo. Now, what I wasn't clear about was if he went directly from there, if there was a pause between Kalamazoo and the transfer. I don't know if there was if he worked directly from there, but I had that in my notes, so I must have just forgotten.
The other thing is, I'd like to send him for a drug test, but he has a warrant for his arrest. What have you got there? A check stub or something?
No, it's my ID card to get into the door.
Oh, it's Summit Polymers. All right, let's see it. Well, that doesn't show me much. It does look like you. What plant are you at?
Pavilion plant, 19.
Through a temp or through?
No, into the door.
All right, let's call Summit Polymers and confirm that he's working there.
20 minutes later.
All right, we return to the matter of Michael Dowling. We did try to confirm his employment. Mr. Frazine, what were you able to determine?
Well, I think it summarizes what I was saying earlier. Plant 19 is in Vietnam. I called plant 8 is in Vicksburg, and plant 3 is in Sturgis. He was employed with the plant 3 in Sturgis. He was terminated back in 2022. He no longer works for Summit Polymers.
Yeah, that's after Kalamazoo, plant 18, Pavilion plant. You called
Yeah.
Vicksburg and you called Sturgis.
I called, she had access to all of them. She checked them all for me. That's what she told me. And I asked her about Kalamazoo. And she said he was terminated back in 2022.
That's after Rachel died. I'd quit work. I'd just gone back to work. I've been working for the last 2 months. Can I have my phone? I can show you my payment check stub thing.
Give us the number. If you're not working at Summit Polymers, I'm gonna give you 365 days in jail. Peeing on my leg and telling you that's raining ain't helping. So,
Yeah, she told me she had to log in to check them all to make sure she checked them all, and she said, he's not employed with Summit Polymers. She put me on hold for a minute so she could double check that.
so you contend you're working at plant 18, the Pavilion plant in Kalamazoo?
No, that, nope.
How about that?
I had been working there and I got put on layoff. I'll supposed to
Give
go
them
back
this.
December, yeah. $100.
It's the same shit. Pardon my French. Mr. Friesine has tried to deal with you for some time without much success. I don't really have the luxury of giving you 180 days for having a meth pipe. But you are imbued with criminal thinking. And it hurts my feelings when people lie to me. And you're good at it. They look you right in the eye and show me that phony ID.
No, honestly, I had been working there. I was going to go on layoff, but I didn't go back on the 6th.
All right.
So, and just
Stop. Just stop.
I will.
And then I don't know why you don't show up 2 times for Judge Pattison. He's got to deal with you. You got 3 days credit. I'm gonna order 93 days, credit 3. Leaving 90 days to serve. The fine is 0. No probation, no testing, no nothing. Just 90 days in jail. When you get out and you start your life over again, you got married, you got a place to live. Judge Pattison will probably see you later today on the bench warrant. You can go with the officer.
You're gonna get into.